Hello, my name is Rod Kuhn. I grew up in Tacoma, and it's my honor to help get this video started. And to do that, I want to share a very important date with you. November 12th, 1875. That's the date when the City of Tacoma was officially incorporated by the Washington Territorial Legislature. So, believe it or not, tonight marks the 150th birthday of the City of Tacoma. Now, as you might imagine, over the last 150 years, thousands of stories can be told about the people, the projects, the challenges, and the developments that have helped shape our city of destiny. And we're going to share some of those in this video. So to get things started, let's hear more about one of Tacoma's earliest pioneer settlers.
Job Carr was a modest little man. His 130 pounds were spread over a 5-foot 8-inch frame. On July 2, 1864, President Abraham Lincoln signed a bill chartering the Northern Pacific Railroad Company and providing a grant of 40 million acres of the public domain, the greatest real estate giveaway in American history, as incentive for the company to lay rails from Lake Superior to Puget Sound. The signing of the act incorporating the Northern Pacific fell on the 51st birthday of an about-to-be-discharged Union soldier, Job Carr, Jr., whose service entitled him to a 320-acre homestead claim. Within weeks, he was on his way to Puget Sound to try to deduce where the rails would probably reach saltwater to stake his claim. Job Carr cherished the moment they came to the place where the high banks folded into a gentle draw. I raised on my feet and exclaimed, "Eureka!" and told my companions there was my claim. Carr had no doubts this was the place.
By 1868, the Union Pacific, Central Pacific Railroad would complete the first transcontinental railroad, and by 1872, the Northern Pacific Railroad was underway, under construction. The last section of the Northern Pacific Railroad would be the section that would go from the mouth of the Columbia River, from where Portland is today, to Puget Sound. This was the section that was of most interest to Congress, and they actually conditioned upon the completion of a steam locomotive on rail being able to reach Puget Sound by December of 1873.
Job went looking for somebody to help to entice the railroad to choose this as the western terminus. McCarver came from Portland. Job did sell choice properties to McCarver, and it had not been that long a relationship when things began to sour because they were two different people. He found ways to get what he wanted by maneuvering things that Job didn't agree with how it was being done. That was part of the split in their relationship. All three of the Carr had their stake here. Those properties were given to the railroad.
By July of 1873, the last leg of the transcontinental had come as far as Tenino. In July of 1873, a telegraph was sent that announced that the choice was going to be Commencement Bay. The race was on to be able to get to Commencement Bay. The vast majority of the work is being done by Chinese contract laborers, with a large workforce also being ex-miners and even Civil War veterans who were working on the completion of the line. All through that late summer and into that fall, the Chinese contract laborers graded an 80-foot wide right-of-way and really cut down the forests right along the way to create the wood ties and lay down the tracks.
Chinese immigrants come to Tacoma in 1873, driven largely by railroad employment. They have played a very crucial role in completing the railroad from eastern Washington straight to Tacoma. Little Canton was the city's Chinatown, and it's situated very close to where Chinese Reconciliation Park is. And they create a very vibrant, culturally enriched community here. The 1885 Chinese explosion was a premeditated, city-sanctioned purge of Chinese residents led by local elites and enforcers, executed through intimidation, forced displacement, and the destruction of their homes. The explosion was an act of exclusion in response to compressed conditions of the time, economic decline, and anti-Chinese sentiment. Despite indictments, no one was held accountable, underscoring how institutional powers shield perpetrators. The tragedy remains relevant as a cautionary tale. It exemplifies how racism can be legitimized by policy and leadership, and challenge us to actively remember, educate, and reconcile.
Dr. Nettie Asbury arrived in Tacoma in 1893. The daughter of a slave, she became an accomplished pianist and composer at the age of 8, was elected secretary of the Susan B. Anthony chapter in Kansas as a 13-year-old, and finished her PhD by the age of 18. After moving to Tacoma with her husband, she established the first NAACP chapter west of the Rockies. On behalf of the chapter, she wrote a widely circulated, scathing letter to the editor denouncing the racist film, Birth of a Nation. She did so despite the presence in the region of a very active chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. She died in Tacoma at the age of 103.
When President Benjamin Harrison visited Tacoma in 1891, he proclaimed Commencement Bay as having the potential of becoming one of this country's great ports. 2 years after the Northern Pacific Railway created a direct route to Tacoma, nearly 4 million bushels of wheat were loaded on ships in 1 year. By the turn of the century, the railroad has constructed the longest covered warehouse in the world and outfitted it with motorized conveyor belts to move sacks of wheat and grain into ships' holds. Below deck were barefoot longshoremen trotting across the other sacks until they dropped their 100-pound sacks into the proper place. They were paid 50 cents an hour. In 1892, a longshore local voted to become the first in the state to affiliate with the American Federation of Labor.
We are on the Theophos Waterway, right up along what used to be the longest pier in the whole world, right here where the rails meet the sails. A person could sail in here and not have to worry about hitting anything because the water out here is 300 feet deep. As soon as you get out in the middle of Commencement Bay, all the way up to Seattle, there's pockets that are just that deep, and then you get right up to the rail, and it's more than 45 feet deep before it hits the land. When they first came to Tacoma, they could sail right in without lots of challenge, without a lot of agony, and then put their boats right along this dock, which the more successful it was, the longer it got, until it got to be the world's longest dock for ships. Who would have thought Tacoma had the longest dock in the world?
There are three things that define Tacoma. It's the mountain, the water, and the forests. And that was true in the beginning. People came for opportunities. They looked at the trees. They saw timber that could be shipped all over the world. They saw opportunities in those forests close to us and right on the banks of Commencement Bay. I'm standing here at Dickman Mill on Ruston Way. The Dickman Lumber Company was the longest lasting and the best known of at least 38 mills that called Tacoma home. It was built in 1889, and it stayed in business through the Great Depression closing finally in 1977. These mills churned out 100 million board feet of lumber every day. Much of it shipped globally to Asia, to Europe, and South America. In 1907, Tacoma became known as the lumber capital of the world, where 135 lumber handlers stowed over 202 million board feet of lumber, a feat that has never been repeated. It wasn't long after that before the shipbuilders in Tacoma became very active. They started with fishing boats, ferries were built, pleasure boats were built, and during World War II, Tacoma had an incredible reputation as one of the finest boat builders in the nation.
I think the celebration of 150th year of Tacoma is very important because of all that Tacoma has been able to imagine and execute. I'm standing on the original site of the Sarco copper smelter, which opened in 1888 and ran through the 1970s. I'm standing on what was once 15 million tons of slag. Parks Tacoma has been a part of this site for a long time, even back when the copper smelter was here. The original intention was for this peninsula, which was formed by that toxic slag, to form as almost a breakwater for the boats that we have over here. The smelting industry created pollution whose effects will linger for generations to come, yet human ingenuity and creativity can develop solutions. In 2014, we partnered with the EPA and a number of other agencies to clean up this area and to execute a vision of what this could be. We're now standing in an absolute jewel. Tacoma is a place of dreams. It's a city of destiny, and a place where we know that imagination, hard work, and stubbornness can see a dream come into fruition.
We're in front of St. Luke's, which is one of the great treasures of Tacoma. This church was one of the many gifts of our great benefactor, Charles Wright, who came with the railroad and really helped develop Tacoma into the bustling sort of city that it became. And when it was first built, it was downtown Tacoma in 1882, and it was the pride and shining gem of the region. But with the departure of the money and eventually Charles Wright, the church fell into disrepair and its future became really uncertain until the community rallied around it and decided that they wanted to save this sort of torn down shell that it had become. They decided to buy it and then move it stone by stone from its downtown location to where it is here in North Tacoma today. And it took them 12 years to reassemble it piece by piece. Over time, they wanted to expand a little bit as well. And so first they used some stones from the former Tacoma Hotel, which had burned down in the 1930s. And then, looking to expand a little bit more, they set their sights on a parish hall.
Alan C. Mason. He was an entrepreneur and a businessman that came to Tacoma, and his specialty was in residential development and real estate. He saw an undeveloped and underutilized North End and West End in Tacoma and thought that it would be a great location for a residential development. So he got busy with establishing railroads and trolley lines to make the area more accessible. Then he began platting and marketing for residential development, but there was still something missing. And so he built his fabulous mansion. It was a mansion for he and his wife, and it was a show place, but every week he opened it up to the public for tours and lectures and music recitals so that people could really imagine what a thriving neighborhood would look like here. What I really love about Alan C. Mason, that I think is an undertold story, is his understanding about civic health, civic engagement, and how to build community, and why that was important to establishing a neighborhood.
On July 1st, 1893, the people of Tacoma voted to approve the purchase of Tacoma Light and Water from private owner Charles B. Wright, marking the beginning of public power and water service in Tacoma. Residents believed public ownership and local control provide a higher caliber of service. That belief continues to drive the utility's mission today. In 1925, Tacoma Rail was transferred to the utility, becoming a powerful economic engine for the Port of Tacoma and supporting local industry. Major infrastructure investments like the LeGrand Powerhouse on the Nisqually River in 1912 and the gravity-fed water delivery system from the Cascades in 1913 were the first among many, ensuring a legacy of vital services to Tacoma. After more than 130 years, Tacoma Public Utilities proudly continues a tradition of providing clean, renewable hydropower, safe, reliable drinking water, and an essential freight railroad as part of the legacy.
So we're getting ready to wrap up the video, and it's appropriate that we do it here outside the Job Clark cabin because this is really where the city of Tacoma got its start. Now in the video, you've heard some amazing stories about Tacoma's history, narrated by some great hometown folks. Now we want to quickly highlight a few other key events and developments that have helped shape the city of Tacoma over the last 150 years.